Hey friends, it's Christy and I'm so excited to be back guest designing with my favorite things. Today I'm going to be making a card using the gorgeous Splendid Swans stamp set. So I've stamped and heat embossed my images onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm going to be watercoloring with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers today. I'm starting out with 091 light gray, and I'll go ahead and put the names and numbers of the markers I'm using at the top of the screen for you. I just added a little bit of shading and then I'm blending that out with some clean clear water. I'm adding number 070 orange to the beak and then a little bit of 021 light carmine to give her a rosy cheek. And since those areas are super small, I'll just go ahead and blend them out at the same time. And I'll just wipe off any extra color between on the back of my finger. It's just always right there handy. It makes it super simple. I'm using number 041 light green to color in my vine. And you wouldn't necessarily even have to blend these out if you didn't want to, since it's such a small area, but I just like to soften that ink just a little bit and get it all kind of in that watercolory tone. And if I feel like the color is just a little too strong, I can lift some of that by wetting it once again and blotting it with a paper towel. I'm using 044 deep green for my lily pads. And I am watercoloring a few extra of these scene building images off screen. I'm just showing you one of each to save time, but I colored all the other ones exactly the same. I used that same marker for the leaves of my cattails, and I just added the shading down at the bottom where they're gathered together and overlapping, and then blended upward. And I'll continue that look with the tops with the 065 brown. And the brush I'm using is a number 2 round, so it has that super fine tip to get in all those little detailed areas. I went back to my 070 for the center of my flower and then finished it with 021 light carmine. And now I'll just set these images aside to dry and work on the background. I'm using 4 colors of distress ink: Faded Jeans, Stormy Sky, Abandoned Coral, and Carved Pumpkin. And I'm blending them onto another piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I find this works really well with distress inks. I'm starting with the Faded Jeans and blending on the bottom area, and then I'm going to come in with the Abandoned Coral. I'm creating a sunset sky over the water. I'll add the Carved Pumpkin on top of the Abandoned Coral, and then I'll come in with the Faded Jeans down at the bottom to just add a little bit of dimension and depth to the water. And I did go over each of these colors a second time to help them blend. I spritzed on a little water with a distress sprayer and blotted that up with a paper towel, and then I went over each of those 4 colors one more time just to make that a little bit more subtle and knock those blotches into the background. I'm going to add my focal panel into my MISTI to stamp my sentiment. I want to make sure I line it up nice and straight after spending so much time on the background. I'm inking that up with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I did stamp that out twice to get a nice bold impression. Then I sprinkled that with some clear embossing powder, and I'm going to heat set that so it matches our images. While I have my MISTI out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card. I'm using MFT's Peach Bellini cardstock and a matching peach ink. And I'm just stamping out another one of the swans and the Have a Wonderful Day sentiment. To build our scene, I've added the swan and the water lilies on some dimensional foam tape, and the rest of the images I'll be adhering with some liquid glue. I've left the release paper on the back of the swan so that I can arrange my scene around her and adjust as needed. And I'm staggering those cattails at varying heights just to make them look a little bit more natural. I'll add a lily pad down in the bottom right corner and then pop up one of the lilies right on top of that. And I thought I might be able to use this 3rd cattail, but it didn't end up working on the card, so I'll save that for another project because I will definitely be making more with these beautiful swans. The other 2 lily pads I'm going to add over on the left hand side, and then I will pop up 2 more water lilies on top of those. And I love how the colors of those just accent the sunset sky. And now that I have all my scene building elements in place, I can peel off the backer sheets and add my swan. Then I'm taking the single stitch line tag corner rectangle frames. I'm using the largest in that set, and I just die cut that out of some white cardstock. I cut down some thin strips of foam tape so that I can pop that up to frame up my scene. I'm lining that up carefully with the edges and then pressing that down into place. The last thing I need to add to my scene is a couple of these vines that I'm going to have hanging down to kind of fill up that space in the top left corner. And I'm just adding 2 of those with some liquid glue and then 1 of those with some foam tape. And I did peel up that first one that I laid down and replaced it with a little bit of a longer one. I'm just trimming them to the length that I need them to be. I'll flip that over and add some liquid glue to the back of that panel, and then I can adhere that to our card front. And that is just scored and folded to a standard A2 size card, so it's 4 1/4 tall by 5 1/2 wide. As a final embellishment, I'm going to take some 4 6 millimeter clear droplets from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm going to adhere them down to the card with a strong liquid glue. This is Ranger's Multi-Medium Matte. And this goes on a little bit milky, but it'll dry perfectly clear, so these will really look like little water droplets. I thought they were the perfect embellishment for our watery scene. And that is going to complete our card for today. I'll lift that up so you can get a better look at those details, and there's another peek at the inside as well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear your input. I'll see you back here again next month with another installment of Christy Gets Crafty with my favorite things. Until then, subscribe for more inspirational videos just like these here on screen. Have a great day. Bye-bye.